Item number 13, business from the City Council, appointments of Yuba City boards and commissioners. Presentation by me, Manny Cardoza. Council Mayor Harris and I had a wonderful 2 days interviewing a variety of folks on our for screening committee on appointments for our Planning Commission, Parks and Recreation, Senior and Economic Development Commissions. And after 2 long days and couple of coffees here and there. We've made a recommendation for our next group of folks for the commissions, and I would like to put note in this for council that I'd like to do this in one motion, all together as one, and this is an existing city policy. So after that, is there anybody here would like to speak on this item? And if so, please step to the podium and address. Okay, seeing none, comments and actions from the council.
Just, Mr. Vice Mayor, do you have a slide that shows the selection?
You had it in your packet.
Well, no, for us, we've got it, but for general public, I just didn't know if we had that. It was your presentation.
According to our clerk, we do not.
Okay. You want to read them?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Shaw, go ahead.
I got it.
Okay.
This one I have.
Thank you.
Mayor Harris and Vice Mayor Cardoza have recommended to the Planning Commission Lori Adams, Michelle Blake, and John Schaffer for terms that end 2/28 of 2023. Oh, no, I just lost it again. For the, this would be the Parks and Rec Commission, Stacy Howell, Bonnie Pullen, and Cindy Schatzwell for terms ending 2/28 of 2023. For the Senior Commission, Laverne Denier, 2/28/23 is when the term ends. And finally, for the Economic Development Commission, Stacy Brookman and Margaret Fernandez, with the same term ending of 2/28 of 23.
Okay, Mr. Vice Mayor, I move that we approve the City Council Screening Committee's recommendation for appointments to the Planning, Parks and Rec, Senior, and the Economic Development Commissions.
Okay, I have a first. Do I have a second?
I'd like to amend the motion. I'd like to amend the motion with that the Planning Commission, commissioners, new commissioners, and existing commissioners follow through with the bylaws that are in existence with the attendance of the commission, and that that we support and request that all commissioners attend all meetings as assigned.
Is there?
Yes, go ahead. He's going to speak. Go ahead, sir.
I want to ask a question first, because this may answer the question. Are there existing attendance policies?
And I haven't looked into that particular issue, but I believe there are attendance policies, and that if there is not attendance of a certain period of time, I believe the Planning Commission or else the council can remove the commissioner, however it is done. But I haven't looked into those, but I believe that there are.
I believe Mr. Gell could answer these. Can he come to the podium and speak?
There are existing bylaws within the Planning Commission. I do not think there's other bylaws in the other commissions.
Shannon, is that okay for him to speak on this?
Oh, absolutely. You have that discretion.
Darren, can you please inform us, please, sir?
In my mind, it's not coming to my mind right now. So I'd have to get back to the council.
sorry.
But Terrell, who knows more of this, she might be able to answer the question.
Wonderful.
Sorry to pass the buck.
There you go.
So last September, the Planning Commission has had attendance records all along since it was formed in like 1960s or something like that. And so I don't know the exact days, but if they miss more than, if they have unexcused absences more than 3 times throughout the year, then they can be removed. And if it's a long period of time, then it's an unexcused absence. If it's excused, then there's a little bit more leeway. And in September, all the rest of the commissions actually adopted ordinances with official attendance policies attached.
Thank you, Terrell.
To the Vice Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Just as a point of procedural, there's been a motion, but there's also been an amendment to the motion That was my understanding, Councilwoman, that was not a friendly amendment. That was just an amendment to the motion. Is that correct? If that's the case, the next step is to see whether or not there's a second to the amendment to the motion. If there is, then a vote will be taken on the amended motion first before you go forward. So there would need to be a second and then a vote on it if there is a second.
Do I have a second on the amended motion?
Can you restate the motion?
That's a bit, she's gonna state it, it's her.
You want me to restate it?
Yep.
That's a
You can start all over.
that existing commissioners appointed follow with the bylaws for the planning commission on attendance requirements and other commissioners to be present and active in our commissions.
And before you speak, Terrell just said that we have that. Correct? That's correct. Yeah, Terrell said we have that already in the books. Correct, Terrell?
Correct.
Thank you.
I don't know if
There's a required for an amendment?
I don't,
I don't know what you're wanting to amend. If you want to amend that, that each commissioner has to attend every meeting without missing any, and if they miss one, then that they're removed, if that's what you're asking.
What I'm asking is that they follow through with the bylaws for the planning commission, because I did review those. There's existing for that. And Councilman Shawn, just give me a minute here. I appreciate it. And then that they be actively engaged, and we can decide on if it's one, two. The other for the planning commission is 4 consecutive unexcuses. So.
Through the Vice Mayor.
yes, sir.
Just a point of order, if we could have it, in order for us to continue with discussion, the amendment needs to be seconded so we can pick it up off the table and have discussion.
Okay.
So we're having discussion that we really aren't supposed to be having, so can we either get a second or have an end to the amendment?
Okay, can I get a second on the amendment?
So that we may have the discussion, I second the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, now, do we have discussion?
So the discussion, the idea is to, I mean, the whole idea is to get people to be engaged in our commissions and, right? And so our Economic Development Commission needs to be active. It meets quarterly from what I understand. We're gonna have a further discussion on this, and I don't want to take up more of that without our mayor here, because I think it's important that he also be involved in this conversation. So it's just that we are elected to do what's right for the community, and I'm hoping that our commissioners are good representatives as well for us. And in that, I'm asking that they be present at the meetings that we are appointing them to.
Guess it's me again.
You're up. You're up.
Through the Vice Mayor. Looking at this amendment, I get the point that you're trying to make, and I get the direction, which is completely understood, but we have existing policies. This is not an amendment that is actually needed. It just is more fluff and emotion that we already have a process there, and we don't need to restate the process because they've all adopted bylaws and procedures that if they miss meetings and they are unexcused, then they can be replaced, and that is actually our job as the council to replace them. And then likewise, if they're excused for a particular reason. And secondly, if we appoint someone to a commission, we fully expect them to do their job and take it seriously. So I have to speak against this amendment because it's not needed.
And I respect that, Councilman. I totally respect your view, and I think the missing information is that not all the commissions have bylaws, that I was only able to find one commission to have a bylaw in the planning, and I had requested the bylaws from all of the commissions, and if there are, I am not informed, and that could be part of the issue of why I'm requesting this.
So, you're right, only the planning commission has bylaws. Some of the other commissions have guidelines. They're not required to have bylaws.
Okay.
So what is regulating the attendance policies is resolutions that are signed by the council. So
Okay.
it doesn't have to be part of the bylaws, which usually governs meetings, but the attendance policies were adopted by resolution by the council.
Thank you for that additional information that I did not have. Okay, that helps. So I remove my amendment. We have the resolution set.
Okay, so I need action for,
Okay.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. We're back to the original motion that was on the table, which is the one I made because the amendment was withdrawn. So the motion was, I move to approve the City Council Screening Committee's recommendation for appointments to the Planning, Parks and Rec, Senior, and Economic Development Commission.
and do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, council.